Hello and welcome. Working at the crossroads of hospitality and tech, I get a front row seat to just how fast our industry is changing. And for all of you at the Europe Hotel School, wow, you're stepping into a field that's more dynamic than it has ever been. So today, we're going to dive deep into one of the biggest reasons for that change. We're talking about how social media has totally flipped the script on the modern guest journey. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll talk about social media as the new front door to your hotel. Then we'll get into how it sparks that initial dream of a trip. After that, we'll explore how you can use it to build a real human connection and how it shapes your reputation long after a guest has checked out. And finally, we'll wrap it all up into a blueprint you can actually put to use. Sound good? Let's jump in. All right, Chapter 1, the new digital lobby. Think about this for a second. Before a guest even thinks about stepping onto your property, they've already visited you online. Your social media feed? That's where the first impression happens. And believe me, that impression can set the tone for their entire experience.
It's kind of crazy when you look back. Hotel marketing used to be a broadcast, right? We were just shouting messages from a megaphone with print ads and static websites. But today, that monologue is completely dead. Social media has turned marketing into a dynamic, two-way conversation, one that pretty much never stops.
So if it's a conversation, you might be asking, when does it actually start? Well, it begins way before anyone even clicks book. And that brings us right to our second section, inspiring the journey. This is all about that magic moment of discovery. When the tiny seed of an idea for a trip first gets planted. Just imagine someone scrolling through their phone on their lunch break. They're not actively looking for a hotel, not at all. But then, boom, they see it. One incredible image from your property. And in that 1 second, curiosity is sparked, and a future trip might have just been born. And why does that work? Because you're telling a story with visuals. A beautiful photo of a sunrise from a balcony, or maybe a quick video that captures the energy of your rooftop bar. That tells a story that is so much more powerful, so much more memorable than just a boring list of amenities ever could. At the end of the day, the goal here is really simple. You want to make people feel something. The way the light hits a room, the colors, the design details. These are not just pretty pictures. No way. They are your tools for communicating a feeling, whether that's comfort, luxury, or just pure excitement, all in a single glance. And this is where your strategy really has to kick in, because you can't treat every platform the same. It just doesn't work. Think of Instagram as your beautiful art gallery. It's all about inspiration. But a platform like X, that's more like your digital concierge desk. It's for real-time chats and customer service. Knowing which tool to use for which job is absolutely crucial. So that leads us perfectly into our third section, humanizing the brand. How do you take that feeling of a warm, real-life handshake and translate it into the digital world? Well, it's all about building the kind of trust and authenticity that makes people choose you instead of the hotel down the street. Here's a really simple way to think about it, a framework to make your brand feel, well, real. First, introduce your team. Let people see the faces behind the brand. Second, share some behind-the-scenes stuff, the unpolished, everyday moments. And maybe most important of all, celebrate your guests' own stories. This is how you show you've got a heart, not just a logo. And please, always remember this. People connect with authenticity, not perfection. A candid shot of your team prepping for a big wedding can be so much more powerful and build a way stronger connection than a flawless but kind of sterile photo of an empty ballroom. Now, why is this so important for you as a future hotel manager? Because it all comes down to what we call meaningful engagement. We've got to stop obsessing over vanity metrics like how many followers we have. Seriously, a smaller, super engaged community that's actually commenting, sharing, and talking, that's infinitely more valuable than a huge silent audience. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. What happens after a guest checks out? Let's dive into our fourth section, the lasting conversation. The dialogue doesn't just stop when they hand in their key. In today's world, your hotel's reputation is constantly being shaped in public by the voices of your guests. Here's the absolute truth of modern marketing. Potential guests trust what other people say way more than they trust our slick promotional messages. That user-generated content, the reviews, the photos they post, that is the new word of mouth. And it carries a level of trust that you just can't buy with an ad budget. So, how do you handle this public conversation? The strategy is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. For positive feedback, you acknowledge and thank them publicly. For negative feedback, you respond publicly to show you're listening, but then, and this is key, you move that conversation offline to actually resolve it privately. Doing this shows everyone, not just the person who complained, that your commitment to service is the real deal. All right, let's put all the pieces together into a strategy that actually works. In our fifth and final section, your strategic blueprint, we're going to make sure that all your social media efforts are perfectly in sync with your hotel's main business goals. You know, this whole thing really comes down to one word: consistency. An Instagram post, a caption on Facebook, a quick reply on X, it all needs to sound and feel like it's coming from the exact same brand. Your voice, your visuals, your values, they have to be perfectly aligned everywhere, every time. And let's not forget the ultimate goal. Your digital storytelling has to have a purpose. It's the bridge that connects a traveler's inspiration with the action of actually booking a room. Every single post, every story should have a clear path that guides interested guests right to your website or booking platform, turning all that engagement into real, tangible business. So, as you move forward in your amazing careers, I want you to carry this one question with you. Always look at your social media efforts and ask yourself, is this a billboard or is it a conversation? Are we just shouting at people or are we actually building a community? Your answer to that question will define your success in modern hospitality. At its heart, hospitality has always been about creating unforgettable stories for our guests. Social media, well, that's just the biggest stage we've ever had to share those stories. So the only question left is, what story are you going to tell tomorrow? Thank you so much for your time.